Hi, we're here with you today to give you a brief update on the president's announcement that the Venezuelans residing in the United States have been granted temporary protective status or TPS. And that is on top of the DED that the prior administration granted them at the last minute before the end of the prior government. TPS is a far superior protection for Venezuelans. It is a regulatory protection. It gives a protection under the law. The DED protection that they were granted before is simply a presidential order. And so we are delighted by this announcement, and we wanted to give you a brief background on what it means, who it covers, and most significantly, what to watch out for, and why there are many Venezuelans who will need to get some legal advice, schedule a consultation, because there are some issues hiding in the shadows for a lot of my chamos when they think about applying for TPS. But certainly, Kathy, I'm here with Kathy Hoyos, and we're going to talk a little bit about TPS, and let's first talk about the difference between TPS and DED. So TPS being the nicer type of relief. Tell me a little bit about TPS.
So TPS is regulatory, right? So it's I would argue the better big brother, right? DED is just a presidential order. But right now for TPS, it's going to be granted until September of 2022. And it's going to give you the benefit of having an advanced parole document with your work permit, and then it will give you some possibility of relief from removal proceedings.
Right, and an advanced parole document is actually a parole that allows you to travel, which is not something that a DED allows. All that the DED allows is employment authorization and to stop deportation. Unlike TPS, that actually would be something that would allow an immigration judge to consider as a form of relief, something that an immigration judge could grant you if the government tried to place you in removal proceedings, as opposed to DED, where they actually order your removal and then stop it, which is a very vast difference. Once TPS ends, Kathy, what happens to you?
So you'll go back to the status that you had, and we'll get into that a little bit later about what kind of status you have to have, if any, to have TPS. But you'll go back to essentially the status. So did you come in on a tourist visa? You'll return to that non-immigrant status at the end of that TPS.
Right. So if you're in a student status, you go back to that status, assuming that status was valid when you jumped on the TPS. If you had no status, you go back to that non-status. But you lose nothing by being at the TPS. The DED, unfortunately, just lets your clock run out, meaning that it doesn't freeze you in the nice place where you were, assuming that you were in a nice place. It really is, DED is kind of like the last resort, or a no man's land before the earth ends. But anyways, to apply for TPS, who does this apply to?
So obviously this is going to cover Venezuelans, right, nationals of Venezuela, but it's also going to cover anybody, a non-national who was habitually residing in Venezuela prior to arriving in the United States. So there's an additional component there of then showing, if you're not a national of Venezuela, of your residency in Venezuela prior to arriving here.
Right, and it's going to cover those Venezuelans or people who had no nationality but who habitually resided there, but who have been physically in the United States from March 8th, 2021, and to the present. And they have to file their application by September 5th, 2021. That means that the U.S. government has to have received a properly filed package by September 5th, 2021, or they lose their opportunity to apply. Kathy, does this cost any money?
It does. So there's going to be fees for the work permit. There's going to be fees for the fingerprints, and then there's an additional fee for the parole document if you'd like to travel on advanced parole. There's a possibility of requesting a waiver if you absolutely can't afford those fees. However, again, be really mindful of that proper filing before the registration date of September 5th of 2021, because if you request a waiver and that waiver gets denied, it gets rejected, or there are any issues with your application and it's not considered properly filed before that deadline, line, then you may have lost your opportunity to register for TPS.
Now, also, it's really important to understand that for purposes of temporary protective status, it does not matter what your current immigration status is. You could have entered the United States without any documents. You could be present without having been admitted or parole. You could have a deportation order. You could have a deportation order last week or 10 years ago. You could be in lawful status. You could have overstayed your status, violated your status. It does not matter. You could be in deportation proceedings. You can apply for TPS whether you are in legal status or not in legal status. TPS is a temporary protection, but it does not matter the status that you're in. You need to consider TPS as one of the options that you may have if you need to in some way jump in a situation as a gap maybe to the status that you have, or to solving the situation of not having any status or having overstayed your status. Does everybody qualify for TPS, Kathy, or is there something that you could do to make you not eligible?
Don't we wish it was that easy, right? So there are anybody with criminal issues, anybody with convictions or charges, especially if those are misdemeanors or felonies, you want to make sure that you call and you verify your eligibility at first, because that can make you ineligible. That's one of the things that does matter, right? Your status might not matter, but your criminal history may make a very big difference in whether you're eligible for TPS or not. So you don't want to proceed with just filing something without verifying it first if you're ineligible for any type of reason.
Right. So criminal convictions are a problem, because if you file this application without the assistance of an attorney that understands TPS well, not only could you be denied, but you could be handing yourself over to immigration and then have this situation turn into a nightmare. People with criminal convictions, people with drug situations, people who have been accused of a national interest problems, you need to call us. You cannot do this on your own. Another group of Venezuelans who are going to have a bit of a difficulty with TPS and are going to be surprised to hear this are going to be Venezuelans with dual nationality. And there are many of you there who have come to the United States using a passport from another country, usually a European nation. And you are going to be surprised to hear that you might be facing a little bit of a higher step when you apply for TPS because of your dual nationality in a country other than Venezuela. You cannot apply for TPS on your own. You need the assistance of a competent attorney to do TPS because you have a citizenship in another country other than Venezuela. So make sure if you have any of these issues, criminal, drugs, dual citizenship, and so forth, an order of deportation, you're in deportation proceedings, you need to call us. Now, what if they want more information about TPS, Kathy? Where would they get this?
Well, they can call us. That's one place they can get that information. But we're also going to be doing a Facebook Live just to kind of delve into these more complicated issues a little bit more, understanding that these are general information that we can provide you about how these criminal issues or dual nationality might affect your TPS application. However, it's going to be a case-by-case basis. So at the end of that, you probably still have to call us.
That's right. Don't file this on your own. Don't take general advice. This is no time to self-diagnose or Google how to do this on your own. You need a consultation. And please call us at 404-523-8141, 404-523-8141. Remember that everybody's case is not like your own, and you will need to have your individual consultation so that we can flesh out all of these issues and make sure that your TPS application can be properly filed, not rejected, and that by September 5, 2021, the government has your TPS application in their hand, ready to approve you, and that you can have a successful TPS story. Okay, chamos, let's do this TPS and let's do it right. See you later.
Ciao.